Welcome back, everyone. Episode 6.
We would like to announce Guy has made his triumphant return. Welcome back, Guy. Round of applause.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. It's great
How
to
does
be
it
back.
feel?
Feels bad, Marzi. I try to avoid having contact with you, but it happens more often than I would like.
You don't complain Friday, Saturday nights on chill.
No, you
True.
do all the complaining then.
Do not.
Okay, well, we have a couple things. I'm actually going to say we start with the Trouba trade.
Don't forget your Trouba.
So, Trouba and his $8 million cap hit were traded to the Ducks in exchange for a fourth and a fringe NHL player in Urho Vankinen.
Vakanainen?
I didn't look
For former
Vakanainen.
Bruins legend Vakanainen.
Yes, he was traded to the Ducks when you guys made that Lindholm trade for Hampus Lindholm.
He was a first rounder, actually. Never really panned out in Boston nor in Anaheim.
Well, now he has chance in New York, sort of.
Won't happen.
Probably
He's not bad, though. He's just a bottom pairing guy.
So do you think the return was so low for Trouba because of his $8 million cap hit?
I think that. I think how he's played. He hasn't played horrible, but he hasn't played up to that cap hit. And I don't think the return was bad considering the situation the Rangers were in. They needed that extra cap to sign Shesterkin, which we'll get into in a few minutes. But, you know, they managed to get a fourth and a fringe NHLer. That's okay. You know?
There was not a trade. Trouba was given away for cap space. That's how I see it. And I think he can bounce back. He's still fairly young. I mean, he's on a team that is going to get a lot of ice time, maybe some power play time, which he will never have in the Rangers. So I think he can still be a decent player.
He's had some time in the NHL. He's 30 years old, which is right usually where prime defensemen are hitting. That's where they're hitting their prime.
Yeah.
So
he's 30, so, you know.
He's getting to
his offense is okay. His defense is not great. At least by the advanced metrics here. You know, we all know the man can throw some really big hits and plays on that line, but
he is the king
big hits. Yeah, it doesn't always mean good defense.
Like, he is the king of, for what you remember when Zach Whitecloud hit Matthew Nyes in that real gray area hit.
Yeah, that was a perfectly clean, acceptable hit. That's why he didn't get a suspension.
But I'm saying Jacob Trouba is the king of throwing hits like that gray area.
Oh, yes, he is.
You want to pull out the pitchforks, but you can't because it's technically not a bad hit.
Yeah, so the Rangers trade their captain once again. Is anyone surprised at this point? No, it's just what they do. They're like, okay, who are we going to trade in the next 5 years? We're going to name him captain. But that's okay. It's the Rangers.
Well, the way he left the Jets organization, I don't know if you guys remember that. He made some pressure to leave. He said his wife wanted to work on something on a bigger city in New York and forced his way out. And I mean, maybe there is a character issue there. Maybe.
Maybe. Do you remember who the Jets got back in exchange for him? Neil Pionk.
Neil Pionk, yeah. That was a good trade for the Jets, actually.
It was a great trade for the Jets.
This year, for sure.
Yeah. I remember Pionk's first season on the Jets. I don't know if he was in first power play, but he got a lot of points.
They also got a first-round pick as well. I'm going to go look at who that first-round pick was because I'm a little bit curious now. So it would have been the 2019 20 overall. So But that was a great trade for them. And at the time, I thought it was a little bit of an overpay. I didn't think Trouba was going to end up like he was. So that pick turned into Hinola, who was their top prospect at one time, but has since just fallen off, and he's not going to be an NHLer.
Oh, the Rangers got an empty netter. Sorry, back to the subject here.
Well, I mean, that's someone.
Who was it, Guy?
I don't
Morrissey,
know.
stop talking like that.
It's 3-2. The Sabres made a game with 37 seconds left again. Is
Just like that?
Tage Thompson.
Oh,
Probably, yeah. That was a slapper from the left circle, so
well,
probably.
for any Canadians, Dave and I here do Tim's picks, and I think we both picked Thompson. At least I did.
I took
Well.
Thompson, Zucker, and Will Coyley. However you say that.
Okay, we had the same
Coyley,
picks,
Cooley,
so
Kiley?
we're good.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the trade. I think it's good that they didn't have to pay to get rid of that contract.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess they could have just put him on waivers. That seemed like it was a possibility. And that would have been such a bad luck for them. Okay, Captain, we want you out. We want you to move. If you don't move your no trade clause, we're just going to put you on waivers and someone's going to grab you.
Now, who do you think would have picked him up?
Nobody. With that contract?
I think Anaheim would have.
They could. If they would, why would they give something back for him?
Because there's a risk.
Because Trouba did move that, and there were
Nashville
a few teams in on it.
Yeah. You have to look at the teams that are ahead of them in the waiver wire pickup.
Yeah, I heard that Columbus had interest, so maybe they could have taken his contract.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There was a few with interest for sure. So it wasn't a big competition, but that's why it went the way it did. I'm surprised there was that much interest, but
So
I think it's an okay trade.
Ahead of Anaheim is Chicago and Nashville on the waiver wire, because that at one point of the season, I can't remember which point it is. Maybe I think it's around like American Thanksgiving, where the league switches from using the previous year's standings to the current year standings. Maybe it's 20 games in, something like that.
Okay.
I don't know, but
it'd have to be a date. It couldn't be a number of games. Otherwise, it'd be different for all the teams.
Maybe. Or maybe it's the first team that hits a certain game. I don't know what it is, but I'm just recalling from that fact. But it is a fact that it goes off of some sort of stat like that. But Nashville has...
They don't have the cap space.
They have some cap space. Aren't they at like $5 million cap space?
They don't have the cap space.
Nashville
Trouba,
must
though.
rebuild, not pick a guy like Trouba. They need to reset there. I don't think they are going to make it.
Remember, Barry Trotz said he could scratch anybody.
No, that was the coach.
Sorry, the coach. Same thing.
So they have 7.8 million in cap. So yes, they could have made it work. Obviously, that's not a lot to clear up. Actually, keeping in mind though, they do have some people on IR. I just remembered that.
They do.
Let me double check here.
Well, what we learned on the Trouba trade is that no trade clauses are worthless. They don't protect the player. If they can just send you down and anyone pick you up, you can just work that around, right? It's not fair to the players.
Clearly, if you want protection, you need a full no movement clause, because then only you can decide, if you're going down, if you're being traded. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Only you can prevent that forest fire. No?
You got nothing.
All right.
You're 0 for 2 tonight. He struck out before we started this, too.
It sounds like Leafs power plays against Boston in the playoffs. 0 for 2, 0 for 3, 0 for 4. It's just going to get worse from here.
Well, going back to the subject and try to avoid Morrissey stuff. I know the Rangers, they did the same thing to somebody else last season. Who was that?
Barclay Goodrow. Same exact deal. He ended up being picked up by San Jose. I believe San Jose sent them a little thank you. and technically it's within the rules, so the league can't step in and do anything.
They'll fix that on next CBA for sure. The players will not let it go.
I heard something from Jeff Merrick. He suggested that the league should allow compensation for waiving your no trade or no movement clause. It would be a set number, either a set amount or percentage of your contract, your cap hit. So if you chose to waive it, you'd have cash value coming your way, and this would not be towards the cap at all. This would be completely separate, but it would make it a bit more fair.
Yeah.
I like this idea.
These no trade things, they are weird. I mean, you know that once you waive it, it's not that you are waiving that for that particular trade. You are waiving that forever.
Exactly. It's gone. You don't have that protection anymore.
Yeah.
So if you have a 8-year deal and you waive it in year 4, you have 4 years being traded wherever that team wants you to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Anaheim's not going to be trading Trouba.
No. I think they're just going to ride out that contract for a bit.
The only way they're going to do
it wouldn't surprise me, though, at the same time. If he bounced back and started doing well, whether it's this season or next season, he could be good deadline bait. They have plenty of cap, so retain that at 50%. All of a sudden, he's a $4 million defenseman, maybe a little bit more attractive to some teams.
I think he still has some 3-4 years on his deal.
I believe it's this year plus 2. Let me double check. I have Puckpedia open already, so.
But we all saw how he played in the playoffs last year.
No, I think this year plus 1. So yeah, maybe next year they can flip him easily, or maybe this year if they have some retention.
Yeah, I mean, retention does not hurt the Ducks at all right now. They're not looking at signing anyone big, so we'll be completely fine there. They still have $21 million in cap space, even with that Trouba acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
That's insanity. But we all saw how Trouba did in the playoffs last year. He didn't have an amazing playoffs, especially against the Florida Panthers. Do you think that hurts his trade value at the deadline, if and when Anaheim decides to flip him, even if he does pick it up this season?
This year, if he picks it up, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to affect his trade value that much. It depends on how he plays, though. If he continues to play like he is and just okay, then maybe people will look back at that and think, do we want to risk his playoff performance?
I mean, if he's going to be a bottom pairing guy, even retention of half of his contract is still a lot. $4 million for a bottom pairing guy is a lot. He must play. He must come back to at least a second pairing guy to make it work.
Top 4, $4 million. That's definitely okay.
Yeah.
He needs to play with a shutdown defenseman, though. That's one of his biggest things. Is he doesn't have that very strong defensive side of the game. He's not offensive forward. He produces points and he can hit.
He's an offensive what?
Oh, did I say forward?
Yes, you did.
It may as well be a forward at this point, just like a fourth line grinder.
Third strike, Marzi.
Now,
strikes.
We started this, and they cleared up $8 million. Basically, within 24 hours, they signed Shesterkin to a 8-year, $11.5 million deal, biggest deal in NHL history as far as goalies go. So all of a sudden, they're like, oh, this is going to fix everything, and clearly not everything has been fixed.
Now, if you look at it from a percentage of cap space, it still doesn't beat that Carey Price. It still doesn't beat the Carey Price contract because it was a much larger percentage of the cap. But,
true. Inflation.
Yes. But it also speaks to Shesterkin being that caliber of goalie in today's league.
Yes, so Shesterkin is the guy. If you have him, you have to re-sign him. I don't mind the contract.
No.
It's more so the rest of the team right now. And yes, tonight they won 3-2 against the Sabres, but it's also the Sabres. So, it'd be like me bragging that Ottawa's up 4-0 on the Ducks. It's the Ducks.
And that was a 1-0 game until 3-4 minutes to go. So not like they had walked around the park against the Sabres. It was a tough game. The shots were really even, and they have to work things out
Exactly.
there.
Speaking of like dumpster fires, so like
Speaking of dumpster fires.
the Rangers have been obviously extremely subpar for what they should be this year. The Winnipeg Jets started off 15-1, and then the next 10 games they were the worst team in the league over that stretch.
Okay,
And
leave them go. We'll lay off the Jets for now because they're not facing the problems that the Rangers are.
No, because they had that 15-1 start. They're not the 15-1 team. They're not that 3-7 team or whatever they were. Like they're currently 4-6 right now. And
So
that includes last night's win.
Well, and both the Rangers and Jets arguably have the best 2 goals in the league. Just to connect the 2 stories there.
I'd 100% agree. But what is the problem with the Rangers? You know, if you look at the team, it should be so much better than it is. It's not like they don't have the star power. It's not like they don't have those top end players. They have Panarin. Panarin has been one of the top point guys in the NHL for the past few years. They have Adam Fox, Norris winner, very capable defenseman, and they have debatably the best goalie in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have complementary pieces to that, you know, Lafreniere, Zibanejad, Trocheck, Kreider, like all these guys should be doing very well. But you have Panarin at over a point per game, Fox 22 points in 27 games, very respectable for a G-man, very good. And Will Call, or Collie, because I don't know how it's pronounced either.
I've been hearing, for the most part, I think it's Kylie.
Kylie?
Yeah, like Kylie. I remember that's what I was hearing them pronouncing his name in the playoffs last year when I was really watching them. Like that.
Okay.
The Rangers.
I would say Cooley. But that's me.
Well,
that is you.
Well, I'll give you my opinion on the Rangers then. I think their series last year against the Hurricanes, there was a coin flip. And in many points on that series, I thought the Canes were going to make it. And I believe that Shesterkin is for real. Panarin, of course, is for real. Fox is for real. But the other guys, they had very good years the past 2 seasons, but they are coming more back to their regular standards. Like Kreider. Kreider is not a 60-goal scorer, guys. It's not going to happen every season. He's a 25-30, if that much. I mean, he was scoring in every power play. It was crazy. I mean, not only him. I think the other of the young guys they had, like Kako and even Lafreniere, they are okay, but they are not that like top line level guys. So I don't think the Rangers are out that good. But they are a playoff team, but not a cup.
Yeah, they have the goalie. That's why they've done as well as they have. They have a goalie that can carry them far.
Yeah,
simple as that.
I don't think Kreider's. I think he has the potential to be better than what he has been. But
yes, certainly better than he has been this year. But you have to keep in mind he's not that young anymore. I'm not saying he's going to fall off the cliff completely, but he has 11 points in 24 games, and he's 33. Like, you're not going to be like, he's going to grow into a better player. He has to be able to bounce back to a portion of his former self.
And from what I've heard, Kreider was one of the things that's really been keeping him at the level he has played in previously is he's, from what I've heard, one of the most competitive guys out there. Like he works and works and works. And maybe he's falling off, but I don't know. But
again,
I don't think they're as bad as they have been.
I'm going to interrupt you, Morrissey, because again, he scored more than 30 goals on his entire career, only the last 3 seasons. It was 52, 36, 39. Other than that, he's
Correct.
a 20-goal scorer. He's just back to his regular self. He's a 40, 50-point guy.
He's a solid top 6 player.
Yeah, that's it. He
And
plays the game the right way. He plays it rough.
Yeah.
He's a good presence on the power play. But that's him. He's not a superstar. You cannot count on this guy for 40 goals every season. It's not going to happen.
exactly.
I'm not saying 40. I'm just saying I don't think his point production is going to be as bad as it has been.
This season, hopefully not. It's just every year from here on out that he gets older, it's going to be harder to bounce back to that previous form. Happens with almost every player.
Now, seeing as they haven't had a ton of turnover from last year's roster, do you think there could be a coaching change coming if they don't pick it up?
I mean, the coach is always the easy way out, and it wouldn't surprise me if the coach was fired. But at the same time, they've traded Trouba. Maybe they're looking to trade other pieces.
Yeah.
Kako could use a fresh start somewhere. He's been okay this season, but maybe now that his value's up a little bit, trade him for something else that's going to work better for you.
Well, Trouba was a trade to keep Shesterkin. It's not a change of roster trade. They didn't get anything back that's going to change the way the Rangers play. So if they want to make moves, this is still to come. It's not the Trouba trade.
But if Trouba plays the way he has been, they're swapping third pairing for third pairing. So and the value is getting rid of that cap hit for obviously Shesterkin. But
I think Anaheim could have done much better with the trade, honestly. I think they could have taken advantage. I know there were some other players out there, or other teams out there that were in on it, but who really was in on it? Because there's lots of rumors. You have to look at that cap hit. Who wants to take that on? They probably could have got him for a little cheaper. Not that he was super expensive, but
is Trouba's style what they're looking for? That he's hard to play against, and he can produce some offense. Like, is that what they're trying to build as an identity? A team that knows they're not going to be a playoff team right now or next year, but a team that's hard to play against, and like you don't look forward to playing against them because, especially for Eastern teams, you're now playing at 10 o'clock at night, and then you have to play against Radko Gudas. You have to play against Trouba, like two guys that can hit hard. Like, do you think that's a factor?
Yes. They're tough players to play against. I wouldn't want to play against Gudas or Trouba, but at the same time, they're rebuilding. They have lots of good young players. What they should be doing is selling some of these older guys. Like Alex Galore, that was a terrible contract from day one. But let's see, he has a full no trade clause this year, and then a 15 no trade list next year.
I mean, you got to have some veterans along with your kids to build character, right, Morrissey? As you like to say it.
That's an offline topic that we're not going to bring up on the recording. You got to build character. You're not wrong in that.
And you have to have these guys around. So, I think that's what the Ducks were looking for in Trouba.
Okay. Yes, you have to have veterans around to build character. We'll leave it at that.
Do you think Alex Galore, having won a cup
I think he has great leadership skills. I think his cap hit's not hurting them right now, but eventually they should move on from some of these guys just to get some futures, because they have most of their stars now if they pan out. Leo Carlson, Cutter Gauthier, Troy Terry's 27, but he can still fit into that window. Mason McTavish is fantastic. A little bit of a down year this year, but still decent. Olin Zellweger, I love that kid. His skills are great. And Morrissey, you can say their other D-man, because I messed up his name yesterday. Minchikov?
Yeah.
Minchikov? Okay.
Minchukov.
But they're both 21 years old, both left shot D-men. there's half your top four for the future. And then they have their potential future Vesna winner in Luke Dostal. I think he's fantastic.
I've only really seen him play one game, and that obviously is against the Leafs. And that game, you had Marner, Matthews, Tavares, and Nylander all flying. And they peppered him with like 40-plus shots or something like that. High
Senator
scoring.
score
And
Brady 5-0 against
Brady
Anaheim.
bunch.
Sweet.
But you had
Some fantasy points for me.
You had all four of the Leafs top players. Like, they're all flying and peppering him with high scoring chances. And just watching what he was doing at his age is incredible. Yeah. He's got a crazy future.
He's definitely a good player, good goalie.
Do you think in a few years you see his contract, like him potentially signing a big contract like Shesterkin?
I think he'll do a bridge deal, and then if he continues at this level, he'll sign a big contract.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Shesterkin's big ticket was already when he was a playoff proven goalie. I don't think teams are eager to give that kind of money to goalies that have never played a single playoff game.
True. Very true. Just to move on a little bit, we've been stuck on this trade for a while. One note that I saw about the Rangers was players have kind of noticed how they've treated their players in the past couple trades, with Gaudreau just getting waived and sent to the Sharks even though he didn't want to go, and Trouba being told, okay, you're going to waive your no trade clause or we're going to waive you. It's not a great look, and they are the Rangers. There's still that kind of ambiance of I'm going to play at Madison Square Garden, I'm going to live in New York City, so I'm sure that will still draw some players, but how they've done the transactions with Gaudreau and Trouba might be a little bit off-putting to some guys in the league.
Some guys I can see, but those guys are those guys also the same guys that don't want to play in like big hockey markets, like your Drew Doughty's, who wouldn't come to Toronto because he doesn't want to deal with the media, or like Ryan O'Reilly, who went to Nashville because he had no interest in re-signing with Toronto Maple Leafs because of the media. Like, are a lot of those players overlapping with the guys that don't want to deal with that type of management? But
they are a big market, but they're not the same as a Toronto or a Montreal. Like, their fans are definitely diehard and good, but I don't know if the media pressure would be quite as high.
It is not.
It isn't.
I'm not saying it would be as low as Ottawa, but I don't think it's comparable to Toronto.
Hey, Trouba can walk around in New York, and most of the people have no clue who he is.
True, very true.
Drew Doughty said that about being with the LA Kings, and he had just won a cup with them.
Yeah. LA is a completely different situation. Think of all the
I think it was
Anze
Kopitar, or like one of the players was wearing his game worn jersey to like some event, and they're like, "Oh, you're his fan." I'm like, "No, I am him."
Imagine that happening. Like, no, this is me.
I am him. See, imagine. Like that's that's I guess kind of what Doughty wants in LA, and a lot of players don't want to deal with that. And, like, a lot of people like that.
Yes.
I get to
just a quick off-topic inquiry here. Kopitar is a Hall of Famer, right?
I think
Multiple Cups, excellent elite player.
Selke,
yes.
yes.
Isn't he like? I know he's in the top 100 all-time scoring.
He has just completed 1,300 games, I think, recently.
Yes. He's
still going on strong, man.
At 37 years old, no less. He has 32 points in 28 games this year. That's impressive. That's very impressive. So I'd say so. He's a 2-time Selke winner, 2-time Cup winner, 2-time Lady Byng winner, and 1-time Mark Messier NHL Leadership Award winner.
Yeah, that's Hall of Fame career there, yeah.
He's 42nd all-time scoring.
Not bad.
Yeah,
He
1,243 points.
Considering he's a
1,400.
very strong defensive player, that's impressive.
Yes.
he's
And
only 31 points
1,400
behind.
games.
Yeah, he's only 31 points behind Al McInnes. He's only 51 points behind Patrick Kane.
Oh, there goes the shutout for Omar.
Goodbye, fantasy points.
You'll be fine.
Cutter Gautier.
But like Evgeny Malkin, he's a guy that's talked about being like a shoe-in for the Hockey Hall of Fame. And Kopitar's within 100 points of him.
Yeah, Kopitar's, I agree. He's in.
He's quietly had a Hall of Fame career.
That was off topic. Just let's go back to the...
Quickly back to the thing. I think we'll see this free agency if the Rangers decide to do anything. And if a player doesn't want to go there, it's going to come out. It's going to be leaked. It usually is. So we'll see if that really takes any effect. But
I know everybody now understands that if you're negotiating a no trade with the Rangers, it's worth nothing.
Exactly. So it might turn into, okay, no, I'm not doing a no trade. I want a no movement clause.
Yeah.
Half the players in the league have no trade clauses. It's not like the NBA. The NBA has like what?
NHL hands them out. They hand them out like candy.
Yeah.
But speaking of rumors, moving on from the Rangers here, we've been talking about them for half an hour. Now, there was a rumor that Dylan Larkin requested a trade, and it has since been disproven. I've seen multiple people post that it was fabricated and he does not want out of Detroit, which makes sense. He's from Michigan. But if Detroit wanted to go that route, what would that trade potentially look like? What would they want in return?
Well, proven first-line center. He's still, 27, 28? On a fair contract?
Is 28 years old, and he signed to an 8.7 mil cap hit until 2031.
On a very good contract on today's salary cap. He's gonna be worth a lot. Like,
he's a point per game player.
A couple first rounders and a roster player, or a very good prospect. I would think at least that.
Keep in mind, he does have no trade clause, so he would have to waive that. But I agree. I think he'd bring a hefty price and trade a really good package back. I mean, we just saw Juracek get traded for that big enough package back to Columbus, and Juracek is an unproven NHL defenseman at this point. So to have a proven first-line center with a good contract for a lengthy amount of time traded, he could bring back some good prospects, picks, players.
Yep. He plays top line power play minutes. He's consistently over 50% on the draws, which a lot of people think, oh well, it's just face-offs. No, it's face-offs are a very underrated stat, but they're very important. You don't have to chase the puck down. You have the puck if you win the face-off. So
I would say he's a top 15, top 20 centers on the league right now.
You got almost prorate his stats upwards in the sense that he's playing for Detroit.
You can't do it that way.
If he got paired with good players, he's
NHL Network ranked him as 15th this past off season. Excuse me.
Okay.
The guy can produce. He's an asset to any team.
Yeah. He's an elite hockey player.
And he plays secondary penalty kill.
Yeah, he's a good two-way player. He's good, man. He's gonna. If he goes to the market, Detroit's gonna have a lot coming back their way for him. But I don't think that he will come. Not right now, unless Detroit decides it's like the Yzer plan is not working. They want to do another plan.
Well, honestly, the Yzer plan, I question some of his moves. Like, some of them have been very good. Raymond's contract has been great. DeBrincat's contract's good too, and the trade for him was definitely good. But Andrew Kopp, JT Comfort, both around 5 mil to 5.5, depending which one.
Ben Chirot, they have P3, some weird
They also picked
contract.
up Justin Hole.
Okay, you just don't like Hole. Hole's not that
He's
bad.
terrible. He's terrible.
He wasn't good on the Leafs. We had to blame someone for our playoff struggles. I'm going to blame Hole this year. You just pick a different player
No,
every year and complain about them.
That's not true. Okay, partially true, but not entirely. It's not entirely unwarranted. Justin.
Okay,
Hole
I'm not
was
saying he's a
terrible.
top pairing D man or anything, but he's not as bad as you've made him out
Oh,
to
we
be.
have a fight.
He's a
Good as
fill-in.
and who's number
Please tell me.
23 there?
Hamannik.
There we go.
Yeah, no, that's actually kind of a fair fight.
Yeah.
Justin Hole on good teams, he's a 7th defenseman at best.
Okay, that's where
Okay.
I disagree, and we're not going to talk about Hole anymore. We were just talking about
He's a
the
hole in your
Rangers,
lineup.
or sorry,
Who?
the Wings team. Dave.
Well, at least we have
That's
just
one
finished the Leafs talking for tonight, so we can move on. That was Hole.
But the guys you're playing, yeah, I don't know if everything's working out as well as people thought it would. I think Julian Brisebois was behind a bit more Tampa's success than everyone realized. But, that's okay. We'll see what happens with the Wings. And I say that's okay because I don't want the Wings to be good. I don't need more competition for Ottawa.
Ottawa's not exactly the competition either, though.
No, but right now there's a lot of crappy teams in the Atlantic, and Ottawa could squeeze into the playoffs potentially. So if those teams can continue to not be good, that's great. And if Ottawa can shoot up.
Okay, now just hearing this, which teams do you think Ottawa have the potential to leapfrog?
Let me look at the standings quick.
Or ability?
All of them except Toronto and Florida.
But do you think Boston? But Boston's
looking at wild card
7-3 since they fired their coach. Like, I still can't. I mean, as a Leaf fan, I still can't say that Boston doesn't have a shot at winning the division. Like, they've been playing terrible hockey, and they've been 500. They've been complaining about how bad they are, and they've been 500. And then they fired their coach, and they're on like an 8-3 record since, or something like that.
So Ottawa is sitting pretty low. The only teams lower in the East are Buffalo and the Canadiens. But with this win tonight, that's going to happen at this point, they'll have 28 points, which will put them 2 spots up.
How many points from wild card?
Exactly what I was going to say next. 4.
There we go, man.
Exactly.
They can leapfrog anyone. If they go on a tear, win 4 or 5 games in a row, they are in playoff position, probably.
At this point, the Bruins are in the 500 range, and every team in the wild card, not in the top 3 of their divisions, they're all 500-ish.
Yeah.
Give or take.
The Atlantic is gonna be like a knife fight on a dark room. Anything can happen. You can leapfrog anyone. Anything can.
Especially with the Rangers and the Lightning playing like they are. Like, I'm not worried about a wild card spot right now. I figured with the way Ottawa played, they would kind of screw themselves out of even competing for the wild card, but only being 4 points out of the second spot and 5 points out of the first spot for wild card, that's more than doable at this point in the season. And Ottawa always gets hot after the Christmas break. It's been consistent every single year, and now I usually hate it because I'm like, well, we're gonna do a little bit better, not get as high of a pick, and that's not gonna help the rebuild. But at this point, if they can squeak into the playoffs, it'd be great.
The time has gone to worry about picks, Andrew. You guys gotta go for winning games.
Oh, I'd love to win games. That would be fantastic. I just don't want to get my hopes up and then be disappointed,
Oh, like you don't want to be a Leafs fan is what you're saying.
Yes, but that's a different type of disappointment. That's true failure. We haven't even gotten to the point where we can fail yet.
Yeah,
I
it's a very premature failing for the Senators right now.
Yes.
I
Anyway, that's all a bit off topic.
personally, I want the Sens to be good because I would love to see a Leafs Sens series. I would love to see it. I have a hard time thinking that they're going to leapfrog a lot of teams. I can't see them. Like, I can't see Pittsburgh still being as bad as they are. They've been picking it up a little bit more lately, but
Time will tell.
I
It's going to be very weird if it stays like this right until, playoff time. It's very unlikely
agree.
that it's going to stay like this.
Yeah.
So some teams are going to get hot, some teams are going to fall. It's just how it is. You're going to have separation. It's very unlikely that it stays, with Ottawa being almost last and, we're only 4 points out. It's not going to stay like that.
Washington squeaked in last year because the Philadelphia Flyers lost like 16 of their last 20 games. Washington got squeaked in to the playoffs.
I think it's going to be a close race. I think there will be a lot of teams on that 550 something.
It's possible.
And it's going to be tight till the end.
There was a good mix last year. There was lots of teams. It could be like that again, but we'll see what happens.
I still love. Who was it that missed out in the playoffs because the team didn't know that they had basically the spot locked up and they pulled their goalie and lost, and it forced another team out. Was that Detroit? No.
I think Columbus pulled the goalie, and somebody scored an extra goal and
it knocked the team out of the playoffs.
Won a position, yeah.
Okay.
I may be wrong. No, that was Tortorella. I'm thinking Columbus and because of Torts, but it was the Flyers.
It's going to be a tight race. But
now I remember it.
He pulled the goalie there.
Go ahead, Dave.
It's going to be a tight race, but I think Ottawa's. I just think they're on the outside looking in on this at this point for this season. I think they can sneak in next season if they take another step, like they have been. But I can't.
Okay.
I just can't see them finishing in the playoffs.
Okay, Dave. Let's play this game. Buffalo, yea or nay? Do they have a chance?
Okay, let's ask it like a serious question here.
Okay, Detroit, yay or nay? Do they have a chance?
Again.
Columbus, yay or nay?
Nah. They gotta get don't they have to get cap compliant soon?
Columbus is fine.
I haven't been following on that situation, but I know there was a point where they had to be cap compliant and they're given leeway because of.
I think the league gave them some leeway because of the Gaudreau thing.
Yes, Gaudreau's contract is not counting against the cap. They're fine.
I thought there was like a point where they had to. Yeah, I thought there was a point where they had to become cap compliant, and the leeway was the time frame to do it.
Well, I think Ottawa, Buffalo, and Detroit, all of them have enough talent to be better than they are right now. And so I think they all have a chance to get hot and squeeze in.
To answer your question, Dave, 28 mil in cap space for Columbus at the moment.
I thought there was something that they weren't cap compliant. Maybe it was just much earlier in the season, but
maybe.
Anyways,
Pittsburgh.
They're not a playoff team. You can't count Crosby and Malkin out.
Okay, Pittsburgh's 2 points ahead of Ottawa. Islanders. They have Sorokin, and they have Dobson. Barzal, Horvat.
Their stars need to have. I think their stars need to have record seasons for who they are to be able to make it. Like, they need to be a much better team than what they are capable of to make it.
I think their better scorer is Palmieri. You're not going to the playoffs if your best goal scorer is Kyle Palmieri.
At this point, no. I mean, Palmieri he's still okay, but he's not what he was. So it's not going to work out that well for them. Philadelphia. How about them? How are you looking, Philly?
Not
Mitch,
yet. They're not ready.
I mean, as long as they don't have a colossal collapse like they had last year, I can't say that they won't make it just
And
because of
then you
the
have
division.
two that are in the wild card spots right now. You have Tampa and New York. New York is New York, but as in the Rangers. Then Lightning. So the Lightning are weird. They're second wild card spot, but they still have all that talent. We'll
I
see.
think both of them make it.
How is Vasilevsky doing this season?
Yeah.
Not bad, not old Vazzy.
Yes. Exactly.
He's above league average, and the backup's below league average, but he's still winning games.
Vasi's 912, so he's doing okay.
If they can upgrade their backup goaltending, I don't think they're having any issues.
Okay. Well, moving on from that, this is just a quick note. Kevin Shattenkirk has officially retired from pro hockey. Shattenkirk was good.
At
Almost a
some
thousand
point,
games.
yeah, at some point he was a very good offensive defenseman. And when he got traded from St. Louis a couple of years before that cup run, I felt bad for him. And then he went to Tampa and won it. So in the end, it worked out. But he was a very good player, man.
What did he win the cup with
Tampa?
Washington too?
No, Tampa.
Ooh.
No, he was traded to Washington on that year. I think it was the year before the Capitals won. And then he went to the Rangers on the next season.
This is prime Shattenkirk here. This is on the Blues, 25-year-old. And just how good was he?
Yeah,
Look at that.
very, very good.
He's the guy that I'd take on my team,
Yeah.
especially with the Leafs'
Just
recent issues
true
on the
elite
defensive side.
defenseman through and through. Maybe not the top of the league, but definitely a guy you want. So congrats to him on retirement. I know a few teams were calling him, asking if his services were still available, and it was a tough choice, but a respectable one.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was mistaken. He wasn't on the Capitals roster.
No, he was traded on the deadline the year before, and then he didn't resign in Washington. That's when he went to the Rangers and got bought out, and then he ended up in Tampa.
Yes, and it all worked out just fine for him. A cup win's a cup win. Some players play their whole career and never get that chance. Never happens. So
Some
good for him.
some players play their whole career without playing a playoff game.
Yeah, and he was
That's
an
more of a
important
rarity, but
player on that first Tampa run. He put a lot of points in the playoffs. I remember that he was playing well.
He's an all-star defenseman who's had a great career, and now he's hung him up.
yeah, he's just been consistent. His good years were all 40 points, 45, around the 45 mark for the most part. Just solid offensive.
Yep.
Even last year with the Bruins, for as old as he was, it's not bad. Not bad at all.
He did fine. He played fine as a bottom pairing guy. He did okay. And because of the Bruins really lacking a true power play quarterback, he got some first power play time and got some points there too.
I remember, so he was on the Blues in 2016, that season.
Yeah.
They had a strong defensive core. Like you got Shattenkirk, who wasn't. They had Jay Bowmeister that year, Joel Edmondson,
Petrangelo.
Leafs legend Carl
Uh,
Gunnarsson, Colton Parayko, Alex
yeah,
Petrangelo, just to name a few, and up and coming Robert Bortuzzo.
yeah.
Like, not saying Carl Gunnarsson should be included on that great D-man list, but that's a very solid top 5.
That's why he got traded, because all these guys like Pietrangelo and they were fairly young, and they didn't make
Parayko
sense for them
too.
to extend him. They just traded him on the deadline to the Caps.
It was a good move.
Yeah,
Um,
but
I
congrats
want
on
to,
him.
yeah, I wanted to talk about NHL free agency a little bit and what the league has sort of threatened to teams and players. So every free agency, we all know how it works. Players talk to teams, teams talk to players beforehand. They make handshake deals. So, hey, when it's officially allowed, you're going to sign this. Okay, I like that. I'm going to sign it. Like when I was camping the year that Claude Giroux was signed, satellite radio going, and 2 minutes past one, something like that, Claude Giroux signed. So 2 minutes into free agency, he's a Senator. Yeah, they worked out that contract pretty fast. But these penalties that the NHL has threatened, or potential penalties, up to $5 million in fines for teams, termination of contracts for the team, forfeiture of picks, and lastly, and this one gets me, awarding draft picks or cash to the offended club.
Like,
Like, is any GM going to agree to this?
the owners might. They
Are
don't
they
want to see
though?
do they want to see their start? Do they still want to have a chance at re-signing their free agent stars?
Well, let's be realistic. If you have a star like a Marner, you either sign him before the deadline or ship him out. The only times that doesn't happen is, like a Bobrovsky situation in Columbus where I'm not waiving it, I'm playing, but I'm probably not re-signing. Then you're stuck.
So we're looking at the league possibly implementing this. One
Yes.
thing, look at how many players sign as free agents every single year. You're telling me that at least 50% of those guys don't have handshake deals at some point in the summer? You're telling me that all their agents are just they're just going to disappear for 3 months and just like, I can't do it. Don't talk to me. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So
you guys stop doing your job. Like,
I just don't see how this, makes sense. It's not a huge deal. Teams aren't majorly affected by it. If I'll use Drew again, just because I know the situation. Drew grew up in Gatineau, literally beside Ottawa. If he wanted to go to his hometown and play hockey, whether he makes that deal before free agency and signs it 2 minutes in, or makes it after, he's gonna go.
Man, the thing is that the league or the offended team must prove it happened. It's not easy to prove, and just the fact that the deal was signed a minute after noon, it doesn't mean it was not one phone call that settled it. The thing is that last year, I think a lot of contract details leaked before the deadline, the free agency was open, and then
Ooh,
it gets weird.
yes, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I forgot about those early leaks.
Yeah,
So maybe they're trying to crack down on that. There's actually player penalties involved here too for handshake deals before it's officially allowed.
yeah.
Up to $1 million fine and or suspension. And of course, termination of contract as well.
so Nick Robertson goes and signs a 1 year league minimum contract, and he has a handshake deal before the deadline starts, or sorry, the free agency starts. And he gets fined $1 million for that. For that, he's
Up
losing
to a
money on that.
million. So
Like, can you imagine that?
I
You're
think it would
losing
be
money.
based on contract. I don't think they're going to turn
Likely.
around and fine Robertson $1 million when he hasn't made all that much in his career, they may just suspend him, like it says, and or suspension. So
I maybe I'm wrong, but I'd have a hard time believing that the NHL is actually going to do this, because it's just going to make for more sly deals to take place. Like, it's just going to
yeah,
be private conversations. Like, instead of these things being out in the open, the
it's just
insiders are
going to
just not
be
get the information that they rely on for their careers.
yeah. Everyone will be really tight-lipped until that free agent mark of 1 p.m. I think that's when it normally is.
Yeah, so it's not really going to change. It's just
Well,
going to be harder for the NHL to actually police it.
that's
And with,
how you break the law, Marzi. You don't do that on the spotlight. You have to do that in the back door. That's
Yes,
how it
yeah.
is, man. Do it
No,
the right
exactly.
way.
So
Um,
is it even worth the NHL to come out with this?
in my opinion, no. But Gary Bettman's pretty stubborn, so he might do it anyway. But
He might
we
Most of the
have
try.
people
a
complaining.
special story to tell all our viewers, and then we have a little something to go along with it. This dates back to the bubble hockey of COVID, when the Montreal Canadiens and Toronto Maple Leafs faced off in the play-in round, not even the real playoffs, but the play-in. And the Leafs were up, what was it, Dave? 3-1 on the Canadiens? Or 3-2?
Are you talking about the series lead or
I
the?
think
Yes, the
it was a
series
best
lead.
of 5, I think, because it was a
No,
play-in.
no, that was against Columbus that they blew as well. That was
Yes,
against
this was a
Columbus.
different time that they messed up. So,
Yeah, one of the 8 times.
I believe it was a 3-1 series lead. And what Dave said was, if the Leafs somehow manage to blow this lead, I will never watch them again until they reach the Stanley Cup final. Now,
I said conference finals.
it was later changed to conference finals, and it was changed to, oh, if they make the second round, in true Dave fashion. And, he was actually watching games and stuff. He does watch them now because he realized that's probably not going to happen. So,
So
he's
part of
wrote a
saying this,
special song to go along with this.
I was working evening shift, so the games happen right in the middle of the shift. The only time I'd actually be able to catch a game at home is if I watch the third period of a game where they're playing. Start time's 10 o'clock, and so it's impossible.
So you
So-
watched those games as you were making ice cream?
This is what we call a Morsi
No,
excuse.
I wasn't. But now I just don't take actually watching the games as seriously. Like, I used to be a hardcore, but you kind of just give up after a point.
What, did you get hurt?
Did I?
No. We have a special song.
Have millions of other Leafs fans been hurt?
It is called Morsi Says Goodbye.
Scores! Yes, Barry, Kotkaniemi, and there will be a Game 7 Monday night.
The vocals are also performed by our esteemed guest, Ski.
Game's about to end.
Passing time with the muskies. The ice
The
cream
ice cream
is
is
all
all
we
we
find.
find.
Remember when we choose to die? Cross the border with the car. Remember when they lost those games and they lost their dignity, baby. Not the play in the north. No more blues to face the past. The coast goes forever.
Morsi says goodbye. Leafs say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
I don't know if I'm prouder of my lyrics or playing out the instruments. Certainly not of my vocals.
Well, I think it was all pretty damn good, and we didn't get to the part, but there's one line, and it says, "Only Willie can score on Price," and that's referring to, of course, William Nylander. And that line is in there because at one point, Dave just hated on Nylander for no reason, and all his analytics were good, the eye test was pretty good, and I told him, Nylander's going to be an elite player, and he offered to trade him to Detroit for Abdelkader. He made that offer to a friend of ours that's a Detroit
No,
fan.
that
He's
was
like,
also a joke.
he claims it's a joke now because he realizes he was wrong.
So the basis of this joke is at least Abdelkader at the time was a very different player from Nylander. Not saying he was better in any way, shape, or form, but at least Abdelkader stood in front of the net and crashed the net. The biggest frustration, and every Leaf fan that watches this will agree with this, they don't go to the net. Now they are, and they're starting to, but they have a long, long playoff history of not going to the front of the net, just cycling around the outside. And Geese watched this through the few playoff series against Boston, where the defense just stands there and just waits. Just, all right, come on, let's go.
Well, Morris,
No,
at
back to
that
point.
point of your Nylander for Abdelkader offer, Nylander was already the best contract on the Leafs roster.
This is true.
At that point, his performance against his salary cap, he was the best contract. It was a point
also,
per game, making like 50% less than Marner and Matthews.
This was also before Nylander started going to the net, because one of my biggest issues with Nylander historically was all defensemen really had to do was look at him, and Nylander would just dump the puck or just shy away from it. It's like now he's actually becoming a little bit more physical, and so is Marner, where they're not shying away from the hits anymore. They're not shying away from the front of the net. Marner's starting to do that. Nylander's starting to do that, and it's completely changed their games, and now they're both scoring. So
Okay, Dave,
back then, and until in every single playoff series that the Leafs have had with this core, they don't go to the net. They don't score dirty goals. They don't do it.
I just want to say you're complaining about Nylander in the playoffs, but he's really been the playoff leader for the most part. So you don't really have a leg to stand on here. You started really complaining about him the second season, in which he had 61 points in 81 games. And, then his third season, he matched it. But you complained. You treated him like he was a bag of pucks that you would take almost anything for. And you will backtrack now because a Sens fan was right and you were wrong.
As I said, at that time, Nylander shied away from physicality. And a lot of Leaf fans love the blue-collar, hard worker type players.
Yeah, but the NHL has changed. You still need those guys, but skill guys are really important now, especially ones that can play as well as Nylander.
I'm not saying the Leafs are a worse team. They're definitely not a better team without him. But at the time, he needed that grit to his game that he's never had, and he finally has it over the last couple of years.
Well, you should have taken Abdelkader, man.
I would have, at that point, I would have loved to have that Abdelkader on my fourth line, because at least he's going to go stand in front of the net and take some hits and actually open up some ice for the rest of the players.
Okay.
At the time, that's what got him to Team USA when he played for Team USA.
Well, this will
made
end
our point
our
clear.
Leafs portion of the night, which always seems to sneak in here.
Hey, you bring it up half the time.
Yeah, but I don't. Your brother being on, that was something. 2 Leafs fans, 2 Morsies at that, just going. It's hard to stop you two.
Why don't you bring another Sens fan in here?
No, we don't have any. I'm the only one.
I am definitely not a Bruins fan, but I'm definitely a Bruins believer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
you have your reasons.
lots and lots of game sevens.
yeah, yeah. Like, I just love. That's what the Leafs did to themselves last year. If they had just beaten Tampa, they wouldn't have played the Bruins. Instead, they lost. The Bruins won their last game. Kucherov got his 100th assist of the season. The Leafs played Boston, and all I could think was,
Okay, well, remember when I said we were done with the Leafs?
are we ever?
No, but for this episode we are, and that'll be it for tonight, boys. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Guy, for joining us, and we'll be recording again next week, so everyone can expect an episode out probably some point mid next week to late next week.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
gentlemen.
Don't
Have
forget
a
to
good night,
like, share,
boys.
and subscribe for more geek content.